Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hope you guys are having a great day. So last week on the Hockey Talk with TG podcast YouTube channel, I shared the schedule with you guys as we get closer and closer to Christmas, because Christmas, of course, is next Wednesday. So last week I posted a schedule for what it will look like these next 1 or 2 weeks for the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. And as we get closer and closer to the end of the year almost. So, of course, Monday, December 16th, which is today, there'll be an episode out. So this episode right now is going to be out. And then Wednesday, December 18th, there will be no episode. Friday, December 20th will be no episode. Next Monday, December 23rd, there will be an episode out. And then next Wednesday, like I said, that's Christmas Day. So there will be no episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast because it's on Christmas Day. And then next Friday, December 27th, there will be an episode out. And then Monday, December 30th, there will be an episode out. So yeah, that's what the schedule is going to look like for the Hockey Talk with TG podcast these next 1 to 2 weeks. I shared that on the Hockey Talk with TG podcast YouTube channel. So if you have not checked that out, go ahead and check that out so you can be informed and you can stay up to date on the latest NHL news, players, teams, stats, all that good stuff I deliver on the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So Connor Bedard, he scores the game-winning goal with 54 seconds remaining in the third period to give the Blackhawks a 5-3 win over the New York Islanders. That is his 5th career game-winning goal, and he ties Bobby Hull and Patrick Kane for most by a teenager in franchise history. So he's in some elite company right there. And the Blackhawks move to 10-19-2 of the season. They're tied with the Nashville Predators for last place in the NHL. Of course, the Predators are coming off of I believe was a 4-3 loss to the Colorado Avalanche this past weekend. So they'll be at home tomorrow against the New York Rangers. So we'll see if they get a win there. Teuvo Teravainen, he had himself a night, getting a goal and 2 assists for a 3-point night. And Arvis Soderblom made 30 saves. So the Blackhawks answer back to the Islanders from Thursday's loss, because these two teams played each other 3 days. And these two teams played each other Thursday, December 12th. And the Islanders won 5-4 in that game. And the Blackhawks answered back with a 5-3 win. And the Blackhawks, they were also playing a back-to-back set, because Saturday they were in New Jersey to take on the New Jersey Devils. They lost 4-1. And then Sunday, they win 5-3 against the Islanders. So they answered back from those 2 previous games right there. But for the Islanders, Ryan Pulock, Simone Holmstrom, and Noah Dobson scored for the Islanders, while Ilya Sorokin made 18 saves in the game. And the Islanders, they won 3 of the last 5 games, 3-2-0 during the span, and they're 12-13-7 of the season. The Islanders continue their 3-game road trip to Carolina against the Hurricanes Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, while the Blackhawks continue their 3-game homestand against the Washington Capitals Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So, of course, some tough teams coming up for the Islanders and Blackhawks, facing off against 2 great teams. And that Islanders and Hurricanes game will be on Hulu and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. And speaking of the Hurricanes, they held on for the 4-1 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets at home Sunday. William Carrier scored the game-winning goal in that game, and the Hurricanes moved to 18-10-1 of the season. Jordan Martinook had a goal and an assist in the game for a 2-point night, and Sebastian Aho scored a shorthanded goal. And Jesperi Kotkaniemi scored for Carolina, while Dustin Tokarski made 20 saves on 28 shots facing the net. Of course, he was with the Chicago Wolves in the AHL, and so they called him up to the NHL because of the injuries for Freddie Anderson. I think Pierre Kochekov's not injured for Carolina. I should know because I have him on my fantasy hockey team, and didn't say he was injured. So him and Dustin Tokarski will be the starters for Carolina. For the Blue Jackets, Dmitry Voronkov scored the lone goal for Columbus, while Elvis Merzlikins made 24 saves on 28 shots faced in net. And the Blue Jackets, they lost 4 of their last 5 games, 1-2-2 during the span, 12-13-5 of the season. And the Blue Jackets, they head to Tampa to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning Tuesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, while the Hurricanes conclude their 4-game homestand against the Islanders Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And like I mentioned, the Islanders and Hurricanes game will be on Hulu and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. And Carolina, so far during their 4-game homestand, they're 2-1-0. They got wins over the San Jose Sharks and Columbus Blue Jackets. The only game that they lost was to the Ottawa Senators, which they got shut out on Friday during their 4-game homestand. All right, moving on to the Maple Leafs and Sabres. So John Tavares notches a hat trick in the Leafs 5-3 win over the Buffalo Sabres. This is John Tavares' 13th career hat trick, and the Maple Leafs moved to 18-10-2 of the season. Nicholas Robinson and Max Domi each had a 2-point night. They both scored 1 goal, and they both had 1 assist for a 2-point night. And Dennis Hildeby made 24 saves on 27 shots faced the net. And the Maple Leafs, they also placed Anthony Stolarz on injured reserve. Of course, he was injured in the Maple Leafs 3-2 win over the Anaheim Ducks from Thursday, and he's expected to return on Friday in Buffalo. So we should see him then. It's not a guarantee, but it's kind of possible that he may return. He's expected to return Friday in Buffalo, and I think that game will be on Hulu and ESPN Plus. But this season, Anthony Stolarz is 9-5-2 with a 2.15 goals against average and a .927 save percentage. And yeah, those are his stats from this season. And he had a big game before he got injured in New Jersey against the Devils. Maple Leafs were outshot in that game, but he certainly was one of the biggest stars in that game. And of course, they won in overtime, I believe, by a final score of 2-1. And Austin Matthews had the game-winning goal in that game. But anyway, moving on to Buffalo, Jack Quinn, he scored twice for Buffalo. Alex Tuck had a goal for the Sabres. J.J. Peterka had a 2-point night, getting only 2 assists. So that second line really came through for the Buffalo Sabres, but it wasn't enough to, power them to the win. And Devin Levi made 36 saves on 40 shots faced the net. And the Sabres, it is not looking so good for the Buffalo Sabres. They have now lost 10 straight games. 0-7-3 during that span, and they're 11-16-4 of the season. They're 7th place in the Atlantic Division, and they're 29th in the league. And the Sabres, they finished off their 3-game road trip in Montreal against the Canadiens Tuesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, while the Maple Leafs, they'll be in Dallas to take on the Stars Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And also, like I mentioned, the Sabres and Maple Leafs play each other again on December 20th, so that'll be on a Friday. That game will be on Hulu and ESPN Plus at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So we'll see if the Sabres can answer back against the Maple Leafs and try to get a win in Montreal Tuesday. Also, fun fact, just wanted to put this out in case you didn't know. Buffalo and Toronto, they are not that far apart from each other. It is an hour and 47-minute drive from Buffalo to Toronto, and then Toronto to Buffalo. So you don't need to take a plane if you're going to Buffalo to Toronto, so you don't have to take a flight. It's an hour and 47-minute drive from Buffalo to Toronto. It's not that far apart from each other. If you're going from Buffalo, New York to Scotiabank Arena, which is home to the Toronto Maple Leafs and Toronto Raptors, it'll be an hour and 42-minute drive. If you're going from Toronto to KeyBank Center, home of the Buffalo Sabres, it'll be an hour and 56-minute drive. So that's what I saw when I looked up. So yeah, like I said, Buffalo, Toronto, not that far apart from each other. It's just an hour and 47-minute drive. So yeah. All right, so Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers, of course, they'll be playing today. This is the first of 3 games that will be coming on today, and this will come on NHL Network at 6. This will come on NHL Network at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. This game will also be on Amazon Prime for you Canadians up north. So to all my fellow Canadians up north, this game will be on Amazon Prime for you to watch. And to all my fellow Americans, this will be on NHL Network. And, of course, the Panthers and Oilers will be squaring off for the first time since the 2024 Stanley Cup Finals, which we all know how that went down. The Panthers won in 7 games against the Edmonton Oilers to win their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. And, of course, to continue the long drought for a Canadian team that has not won a Stanley Cup since 1993, which we all know the Montreal Canadiens got it done against the LA Kings, and Patrick Roy was on that team then. So it's been 30 plus years since a Canadian team has not won a Stanley Cup. So that drought still continues. And the Panthers won 2-1 in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final to beat the Oilers in 7 games. And Sam Reinhart had the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup Final for Game 7. And Connor Bedard, he took home the Conn Smythe Trophy that year for MVP in the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs of 42 points in 25 games, 8 goals, 34 assists for 42 points in 25 games. And these two teams will play again on February 27th in Florida. Of course, the Panthers, they're coming off of back-to-back shutout losses to the Vancouver Canucks and Calgary Flames during their 5-game road trip. They lost 4-0 to the Canucks on Thursday, December 12th, and they lost 3-0 to the Calgary Flames on Saturday, December 14th. And the Oilers, they're coming off of a 6-3 win over the VGK, Vegas Golden Knights, to kick off their 5-game homestand, and so far they're on a 5-game winning streak. Alexander Barkov, he's out with an illness for the Florida Panthers. Like I said, it's tough not having your captain in the lineup. And Evander Kane and Victor Arvidsson are out for the Edmonton Oilers, both with injuries. Special teams for this one, the Panthers, their power play is 7th in the league, and they have a solid penalty kill, which is 10th in the league. So the special teams for the Panthers is certainly spot on. And the Oilers' power play is 14th in the league, but their penalty kill is at 26th in the league. So this could be tough for the special teams scoring off against the Florida Panthers right there. So it's going to be a tough game for the special teams nonetheless. Key players in this one. So, of course, the big guys for the Oilers, Leon Draisaitl, Connor Bedard. Of course, Leon Draisaitl leads the team in scoring with 22 goals, and then also leads the team in points with 45. So 22 goals, 23 assists for 45 points. Connor Bedard, he also leads the Oilers in assists with 27. So that dynamic duo, of course, is going to be spot on for the Edmonton Oilers, of course, leading that offensive charge. And for the Florida Panthers, Sam Reinhart, he leads the Panthers in goals with 19, assists with 20, and points with 39. So he could be one of the top key excuse me. He could be one of the top key players for the Florida Panthers with their captain Alexander Barkov out with a illness. Goalie matchup in this game. Stuart Skinner started last game for the Oilers against the VGK Vegas Golden Knights. So we could possibly, and I said possibly, we could possibly see Calvin Pickard in this game for the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, take a look at his stats for this season. He is 7-3-0 with a 2.41 goals against average and a .901 save percentage. And we saw Spencer Knight get to start for last game against the Calgary Flames, so we could see Sergei Bobrovsky in net for the Florida Panthers in this one. He's 13-6-1 this season with a 2.87 goals against average and a .892 save percentage and 1 shutout this season. Team stats, so Edmonton averages 3.4 goals per game compared to Florida's 3.2 goals per game. But defensively for the Oilers, they hold an edge over the Florida Panthers with a 2.8 goals against average per game versus the Florida Panthers 3.2 goals per game. So, like I said, this will be coming on NHL Network at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. This will air on Amazon Prime for Canada residents. So this should be an intriguing matchup, especially since it will be the first time since the 2024 Stanley Cup Final that these two teams will face off against each other. So, yeah, one of the three games on the slate that will be coming on today. All right, now we head to the state of hockey. So the VGK Vegas Golden Knights hold off the Minnesota Wild for a 3-2 win. Victor Olofsson scored 2 goals in the win. One of his goals was the game-winning goal, and the Golden Knights moved to 28-3 of the season. Shea Theodore, he scored the other goal for Vegas, while Ilya Samsonov made 20 saves on 22 shots faced in net. And for the Minnesota Wild, Kirill Kaprizov, he scored both goals for the Wild, while Jesper Wallstedt made 24 saves on 27 shots faced in net. The Wild are 3-2-0 in their last 5 games. They're 1-2-0 so far during their 5-game homestand. And with that loss, they now go to 26-4 of the season. But the Minnesota Wild, they continue their 5-game homestand Wednesday against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. This will be on TNT, True TV, HBO Max. And the Golden Knights, they return home Thursday to start a 3-game homestand against the Vancouver Canucks at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. All right, so Cam Fowler, this was a big trade that happened Saturday between the Blues and Ducks. So Cam Fowler, he made his St. Louis Blues debut Saturday in the Blues' 2-1 loss to the Dallas Stars. Matt Duchene had the game-winning goal in that game. So, of course, Cam Fowler, he was traded to the St. Louis Blues for prospect Jermaine Blackbuka. I probably didn't pronounce that last name right, but of course, that was a prospect that they traded him for, and the Ducks also got a 2027 second-round pick. So, a trade that I did not see coming between the Blues and Ducks. I thought Cam Fowler was going to play his entire NHL career with the Anaheim Ducks. I thought he was going to retire Anaheim Ducks. So, this trade kind of shocked me. And also, I'm hoping that Kyle Davidson, the Blackhawks general manager, kind of make some trades like this. But, yeah, like I said, this trade kind of shocked me. But, of course, the Ducks, they're one of the rebuilding teams. So, of course, like the Sharks, like the Blackhawks, they're also a rebuilding team. So, kind of makes sense to trade Cam Fowler away. But at the same time, it was a trade I did not see coming. And so far this season, Cam Fowler has 4 points in 19 games played. So no goals, 4 assists for 4 points in 19 games played. And he's averaging 21 minutes and 4 seconds of time on ice per game. 17 of those games he played with the Anaheim Ducks before getting traded with a -7 rating. And in his 15 seasons with the Anaheim Ducks, Cam Fowler has 457 points in 991 games played. So 96 goals, 361 assists for 457 points and 991 games played. So could have reached the 1,000 game milestone with the Anaheim Ducks, which would have been cool to see before he could have got traded or retired. He's second on all-time games played. He's 5th in assists and points, and he's first in goals among defensemen with 96, and then assists with 361, points with 457, and of course the game-winning goals with 18. In Cam Fowler's debut with the St. Louis Blues Saturday, he had 17 minutes and 57 seconds of time on ice. He had 1 shot on goal and 1 hit. And, of course, the Blues were playing a back-to-back set. So they played against New York Rangers Sunday, which they had a 3-2 win against them. So in his second game with the St. Louis Blues, he had 23 minutes and 50 seconds of time on ice, 1 shot on goal. And according to the Daily Faceoff, Cam Fowler plays first pair D with Colton Parayko. And his impact on the Blues, of course, he'll bring that veteran leadership core and that experience to help their defense and possibly help the Blues get back into a playoff spot. And impact for the Ducks, of course, like I mentioned, the Ducks are rebuilding, so they're trying to add some young prospects, some young players to help them be a rebuilding team and help them be a playoff team in the near future. They're not a playoff team now, but in the near future, they should be a playoff team. And speaking of the St. Louis Blues, like I mentioned, they played the back-to-back set. They lost Saturday to the Dallas Stars. They won 3-2 at home against the New York Rangers. Robert Thomas, he had a 2.9, getting 1 goal, 1 assist. His goal was the game-winning goal, and the St. Louis Blues moved to 15, 14, and 3 of the season. Pavel Buchnevich and Jordan Kyrou scored the other goals for St. Louis, while Joel Holford made 26 saves on 28 shots faced the net, and Jordan Kyrou extends his home point streak to 11 games for the St. Louis Blues. And for the New York Rangers, Brett Berard and Will Cooley scored for New York, while Jonathan Quick made 21 saves on 24 shots faced the net. And the Rangers, they lost 2 in a row. Once they lost 7 of their past 10 games, 3-7-0 during the span, 1-4-0 in their last 5 games, and they're 15, 14-1 of the season. They're 5th in the Metropolitan Division. I think they're actually tied with the New York Islanders and Pittsburgh Penguins with 31 points of the year. The Rangers, they continue their 3-game road trip into Music City against the Nashville Predators Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Blues will play the New Jersey Devils at home Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. All right, so like I said, Buffalo Sabres, they are on a 10-game losing streak. The Sabres are 0-73 in their last 10 games. Their most recent loss was, of course, a 5-3 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're 11-16-4 the season. Their last win was against the San Jose Sharks on November 23rd. That was their last win, which was a 4-2 win against the San Jose Sharks on November 23rd. That was also the retirement of Joe Thornton. So Joe Thornton's retirement ceremony, that was also when the Buffalo Sabres won. And of course, at the start of the season, I thought the Buffalo Sabres were going to turn things around with Lindy Ruff, and the young core was going to step into place, and they were going to be a playoff team. But it looks like their long year playoff drought is still going to continue, and we haven't seen that much from the offense. So the Sabres have struggled to generate consistent score chances for their offense during their losing streak. And Alex Tucker, Tage Thompson, they continue to be key offensive contributors. They continue to lead the way for the Buffalo Sabres. However, we're not seeing that much from their secondary scoring and from their offense in general. And if you take a look at their offensive lines, according to the Daily Faceoff, first line is Zach Benson, Tage Thompson, and Alex Tuck. Second line, J.J. Peterka, Dylan Cousins, and Jack Quinn, which was big in, which also played a factor in that Sabres 5-3 loss. So they really stood out in that game despite the loss. Third line, Jordan Greenway, Jiri Kulich, and Jason Zucker. Fourth line, Beck Malestein, Peyton Krebs, and Ryan McLeod. So they have a great offense, but it's not showing for the Buffalo Sabres. And they're on a 10-game losing streak, so I'm not seeing that much from the offense. Defense, obviously not helping out whatsoever. Of course, the Sabres have allowed 5 or more goals in 3 of their last 10 games during their 10-game losing streak. And you should take a look at their defensive pairs according to the Daily Faceoff. First pair, you got Owen Power and Matthias Samuelsson. Second pair, you got Henry Jokiharju and Bo Byram. Third pair, you got Dennis Gilbert and Jacob Brysom. So normally we would see Rasmus Dahlin playing either first or second pair, but he's out with a injury, and like I said, it's tough having your captain not play, so that's why he wasn't on the defensive pairs for the Daily Faceoff. But we would normally see him play either first or second pair for their defense. Special teams haven't been helping out for the Buffalo Sabres, so their penalty kill has struggled, ranking 17th in the league. Power play has also struggled for the Buffalo Sabres. They're ranked 30th in the league. And their losing streak is one of the longest losing streaks in recent team history. And, of course, the Sabres, like I said, are known for their decade-plus long year playoff drought, which kind of makes this more frustrating for the fans. And you should take a look at the next games for the Buffalo Sabres in December of this month. Tuesday, they'll be in Montreal to take on the Canadiens at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That'll be the end of a 3-game road trip for them. And then Friday, they will face off against the Toronto Maple Leafs again at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will be on Hulu and ESPN+. Saturday, December 21st, they'll be in Boston, in Beantown, to take on the Boston Bruins at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then Monday, December 23rd, they'll be on Long Island to take on the New York Islanders at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And then, of course, they'll have the Christmas break, so that'll be their last game of the Christmas break. And then they're back at it Friday, December 27th, against my Chicago Blackhawks at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will be on ESPN2. And then Sunday, December 29th, they'll start a 4-game road trip in St. Louis, taking on the St. Louis Blues at 2 o'clock. That'll be at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then Tuesday, December 31st, to end the year 2024, they'll be in Dallas to take on the Dallas Stars at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So, of course, it's going to be a tough next few games for the Buffalo Sabres, but I see some easy wins that they should get over the Chicago Blackhawks, possibly the Montreal Canadiens, maybe the New York Islanders, but overall, it's just going to be tough for these next few games for the Sabres, and they're going to have to change something soon because obviously this losing streak, it's just painful to see if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan. So I expected this team to be better. Like I mentioned, I think I made a top 10 bold predictions video on my TG Hockey channel. And one of them was the Buffalo Sabres will end their long year playoff drought and will return to the playoffs. Obviously, it's not looking out that way for the Buffalo Sabres. Like I said, 10-game losing streak, longest losing streak so far, I believe, in their franchise history. So I'm surprised they're not last in the league. But, of course, the Blackhawks and Predators, they're tied for last in the league right there. So, yeah, obviously tough if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan. All right, NHL games on the slate for Monday. So, of course, there are 3 games on the slate. One of them I just previewed for you guys, which was the Panthers and Oilers game. All right, so start things off with the Washington Capitals. They are going to be playing a back-to-back set. So they'll be in Dallas to take on the Dallas Stars today at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then Tuesday, they'll be in the Windy City to take on the Chicago Blackhawks at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So they're playing a back-to-back set. And then the Florida Panthers, they'll be taking on the Edmonton Oilers at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. First time since the 2024 Stanley Cup Final that these two teams will be facing off. Of course, the Panthers won the Stanley Cup. Against the Edmonton Oilers, Connor Bedard took home the Conn Smythe Trophy for MVP in the playoffs. Did not come out to accept the award, by the way. But anyway, that game will be on Amazon Prime for Canada residents, and this will be on NHL Network for U.S. residents. So, Oilers, I know they're going to look to have a strong game against the team that beat them in the Stanley Cup Final last season. So, yeah. And I kind of thought, well, actually, no, I didn't really think the Oilers would pull it off against the Panthers, but it kind of looked like for a second heading into the Stanley Cup Final that they might get it done, but it was obviously since they came back from 3 games down, try to force a Game 7, trying to win it all. I thought they were going to do it then, but it will obviously be the Florida Panthers coming out with the win in the Stanley Cup Final. Anyway, last game of the night will be the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Vancouver Canucks at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for this episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in as always. I really do appreciate the people that tune in to the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Obviously, I am hoping for this podcast to continue growing and to continue to have more listeners and have you guys, be engaged in it. Of course, it's your podcast for all things hockey, so I try, keep you up to date, and hopefully you guys be tuning in and stuff. All right, guys, so hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. God first, as always. Be blessed. I will see you guys next Monday for another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Take care.